See the world turned upside down. See.
Black Diggers brings to light an often neglected story of World War I, the experience of Indigenous soldiers. My chosen text for this assignment, The Articulation of Practice, is Black Diggers, a play by Tom Wright, directed by Wesley Enoch and staged by Queensland Theatre Company at the Arts Centre in Melbourne. Two key areas of knowledge that the students are expected to interrogate are firstly, the reasons why men enlisted, and secondly, the impact of World War I, both of which are explored in Black Diggers. Moreover, the historical skills to be developed at the Year 9 level include the analysis and use of sources, both primary and secondary, the identification and analysis of perspectives of people from the past, and the use of evidence from a range of sources in developing explanatory text.
Colour was painted back on.
Captain Cook and many more, you've never seen the lines before. The white man needs us coloured boys now, here in the ship.
My approach to using this text in my teaching is founded on the belief that it foregrounds the experience of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in World War I in a way that is factually based yet emotively and empathetically charged. This aspect of Black Diggers that engages with the contested discourse that surrounds the historical accounts of World War I touches upon one of the key historical concepts outlined in the Australian curriculum, that of contestability. Broadly, the play offers opportunities for the students to engage with a range of historical concepts, including that of evidence, empathy, and perspectives. That this year marks the centenary of the landing of the Anzacs at Gallipoli. The final knowledge area that we'll touch on in the course is that of the commemoration of World War I, including debates about the nature and significance of the Anzac legend. Indigenous soldiers faced great difficulty earning the same remembrance as non-Indigenous soldiers once they returned. I'd like to speak with you now about Black Diggers as an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander text, engaging students with this content. Black Diggers introduces my students to a nuanced depiction of Aboriginal history, and Australian history at that is often omitted Aboriginal soldiers. But in this representation, the Aboriginal soldiers are placed, instead of in their marginalised location, front and centre in our history. In 2011, ACARA published that our curriculum should ensure that all young Australians are given the opportunity to gain a deeper understanding and appreciation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture and history, their significance for Australia, and the impact that these have and continue to have on our world. However, as argued by researchers Yunka Porter and Lowe, this has patently not been achieved. In my view, whilst the cross-curriculum priority of Aboriginal and Indigenous Torres Strait Islander culture involves a nod at times to this culture, it's often in the paradigm that is linked with the ancient past and does not showcase the complex contemporary issues that Aboriginal Australians face. Black Diggers, however, poses a contemporary question about the dominance of Western viewpoints in the telling of Australian history. It therefore challenges students to gain this deep understanding and appreciation of Aboriginal soldiers' experience in and after World War I. A concerning finding as well in Lowe and Yunka Porter's research was that this content in the curriculum was only in 5 instances included in a content description. Rather, this content is most often relegated to the content elaboration, which is not considered to be core content and implies that the teaching of this material is optional. Not only is there a shortage of this content in the curriculum, but also the nature of this content can lack cognitive rigour. The wording of such content utilises the verbs of remembering and understanding, which are both quite low in Bloom's taxonomy, rather than the more challenging requirements of verbs like evaluate and create. With all this in mind, though, Black Diggers is a text that encourages students to activate these deeper thinking exercises and utilise challenging skills such as that of critical literacy.
Are serving in the war, they encountered a certain dignity, and the one thing that is uniformly coming across all these blokes said after the war was, while I was serving, I felt the colour of my skin wasn't an issue. But what was interesting was that the moment they got off the boats back into sort of 1920s boomtime Australia.
So to move now to thinking about Black Diggers as a text that can be taught to a diverse learner group, I believe that this is a text that engages the skills of critical literacy. Critical literacy is described to be a tool through which a student can interrogate a text for not only the layer of story, but to dig deeper and understand the discourse through which it is constructed and the understory that informs the themes, ideas, and broader context presented. Stories are not only to be taught in English. Humanities, as well as the teaching of history, is made up of stories and narratives that we, as critical thinkers, have to question and challenge. Gordon Winch put it in his chapter about critical literacy that children need critical literacy not simply to analyse texts, but as a life skill. Similarly, Tom Calma, the former Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner at the Australian Human Rights Commission, stated that education is a critical tool to break down barriers and promote community harmony and inclusion between Indigenous and non-Indigenous young people. So you can tell here that critical literacy and using Aboriginal, Indigenous, Torres Strait Islander content is going to be one of these ways to bridge the gap. The urgency of equipping students with a skill in questioning texts relates as well to Craven and Price's research on racism, stereotypes and misconceptions. Their research confirms that teachers are best placed to create individuals who are better informed to create an Australian society of which we can all be proud. Similarly, Clunan would agree that the classroom is an ideal space to be facilitating students' engagement with cultural diversity and inclusion. Quoting the UN,
you lose a few mates, then they lose a few mates. The whistle blows and we gain another cricket pitch of Valley. The horn blows and they chase us out, but most of the time we just sit here and sing our songs, while they sit over there and sing theirs. And everyone hates the whole bloody stunt.
An intercultural perspective goes further than simply a tolerance of diversity. It's as well that literacy is a natural place to start embedding cultural understanding, believing that this is because all teachers are teachers of literacy and literacy permeates all learning. Moreover, the benefit of using a play as a text that is as much a written text as it is immersive audiovisual is something that is tailored to the needs of my learners. As I've received feedback from my students, they work well and learn well from PowerPoint presentations that include visuals and videos as a mix of different kinds of content. For one student that is hearing impaired, this format suits his needs.
I still don't have the faintest bloody idea what we were fighting for, but I felt like I won something over there. Then I lost it back here.
Whilst founded in research and modelled on the stories of real Indigenous people, the writer deliberately chose to generalise the story. With this in mind, it is notable that the text is designed to inform as well as entertain. Particularly in this unit, students are engaged in the summative task, which is to critique the film Peter Weir's Gallipoli. Studying Black Diggers will therefore scaffold those students with the skills to analyse a secondary source that has a basis in historical events, but is not a documentary. They'll see how evidence can be used as the basis for a discussion. These are the two skill areas as articulated in the Achievement Standard for Year 9 History. Lorraine MacDonald, in her discussion of literary texts that map to the cross-curricular priorities in the curriculum, emphasised that the value of these texts is in their ability to draw the student in and allow them to engage immersively through imagination and critical thinking, and also expand their scope of experience. Diggers would best be engaged with if the class could attend the play and see it for themselves. Luckily, the Arts Centre provides a program called the First Call Fund, which would subsidise students that encounter barriers such as distance or financial need to still attend their productions at a subsidised rate. Tom Wright and Wesley Enoch show through Black Diggers how historical research can inform a creative text and introduce a critical discussion of a historical period. Moreover, the play adds to a particular strand of revisionist historiography, one that challenges the monocultural norms of the remembrance of World War I. Standing by the contribution of historian Henry Reynolds, Black Diggers urges the Australian public to think critically about the Anzac legend as a founding myth in Australian identity. As the blurb for the show notes, Black Diggers ensures that after the curtain falls, we will all remember all who served.